When I started studying it with an amazing teacher, I saw so many resonances between this story and our Asian lived experience. You know, it's about spirituality, family duty, honor, who you can and can't marry.
Hi everyone, this is Silesh Ram, AsianCultureVulture.com. I'm with the amazing Riz Ahmed and the brilliant Aneil Karia, and we're talking about Hamlet. So guys, tell me, why did you want to make this film, Riz? It's been gestating for a long time. You encountered Shakespeare at school, right? And it said something to you at that time?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I was an outsider for many reasons when I was a teenager at school. And Hamlet and Shakespeare felt like the exact epitome of everything I was on the outside of and stuff that wasn't for me. And yeah, when I started studying it with an amazing teacher, I saw so many resonances between this story and our Asian lived experience. You know, it's about spirituality, family duty, honor, who you can and can't marry even. And so it was back then that I thought, man, I'd love to do an interpretation of this that just breaks it wide open for a new generation. And so the journey began there when I was a teenager, and then worked on it with the writer for 13 years. And about 10 years into that process, we took it to Aneil, and he was the one who really unlocked it and made sure that we made a Hamlet that wasn't an intellectual exercise, but was a felt experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's more like an action thriller. You've come to it in a way which has a lot of contemporary resonance and makes it relevant for today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, you know, I didn't expect to be making Hamlet as a feature film. If you'd have told me that as a school kid, I'd have been shocked. But yeah, when Riz first sent me the script that him and Mike had been developing, I was surprised at the ways I found this story kind of personal and relevant and kind of timeless. And I started to think, wouldn't it be really exciting to try and root this revered ancient text in this modern setting in a way that felt visceral and singular and kind of rooted us in the emotional kind of reality and the psychological reality of Hamlet. You know, Shakespeare can often have this kind of, the trope of it at least is it has this stiff formality to it. What if we were to break that notion open and bring this kind of propulsion and kind of modern, somewhat naturalistic even energy to it, that brought us into his headspace and made it an emotional experience instead of an intellectual exercise.
And what is it about Aneil's directing that made you want to make this film with him?
We worked together on a short film called The Long Goodbye, which was a mixture of poetry and an action thriller. So it was a no-brainer, really. You know, we'd been working on the script Mike Leslie had for about a decade at that point, and we couldn't quite unlock it until we'd made that short film and realized the combination of qualities we are looking for in a director Aneil has just displayed with this incredible short film that he then won an Oscar for. And so after that, we took it to him and said, look, you have this amazing way of blending something feels real and raw and grounded with something feels beautiful and poetic and slightly elevated. Would you have a look at this? And, you know, Aneil's made some of the most iconic UK rap music videos in the last many, many years. And it occurred to me that this isn't that different to that, you know? And so that's why it just felt like he was a person to unlock it, and he did.
The ghost scene, that's the only bit where there's really any Indian language dialogue. It's Hindi, is it?
There is Sanskrit in there as well. The first words you hear in this whole film are from the Bhagavad Gita, and that's because the Bhagavad Gita, as a story, shares a lot of resonance with Hamlet, right? So we're trying to join the dots here and say that myths and ancient stories like Hamlet, they belong to everyone. They come from the same source. So that's one thing I'll say, that there is some more in there. But I don't know if you want to talk about the ghost scene and the Hindi there.
Yeah, well, it just felt like it brought, as well as the kind of cultural specificity, it brought this kind of different kind of magical energy to that scene. In that setting, it has this kind of otherworldly feel. You know, he is from one realm and he is from another, but also it seemed to speak to the reality of being British Asian, you know, and this generational gap in how you deal with how you kind of flow between these languages in the family home, and different generations use them differently. And so it brought a kind of transcendent kind of feel to that scene, but it also just brought this very grounded familial intimacy to their exchange, which the English version might not have had.
Can I ask you, how does it feel to bring it home to London?
It feels very emotional. This is why I made this film, you know. This is why I dreamed of making it with someone like Aneil, who's also a Londoner, who's from this city, from this community, and to bring it home, as you've said. So yeah, it feels special.